have the beginning of our Bhagavad Gita as it is by Swami Prabhupada, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. And we start with Krishna. I'm going straight on this chapter, straight to the verses. The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god, Vivasvan. And Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And Manu, in turn, instructed it to Ixvaku. Manu, the father of man. Manu, man, Man. You see, I think this is so interesting. The word Manu from Sanskrit is the origin of the word man, human, humano. E aí, mano? Manu, the father of mankind. And also we see succession. Yes, Krishna to Vivasvan, Vivasvan to Manu, Manu to Ixvaku. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. That variation science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. This is a very key verse. Why? You see, first of all, Krishna is talking about the relationship with the Supreme. This is chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge. That's the topic, the relationship with the Supreme. And then Krishna is telling Arjuna because he's his friend. He's not telling this science to a stranger. He's telling this to his friend. And then he can understand this transcendental mystery of science. But then Arjuna
is like, hey, Krishna, wait there.
The sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. Is older than you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him?
It makes no sense, Krishna. Like, you are young. The sun is very old. How can you have instruct Vivasvan?
This is weird. Arjuna didn't understand and made a very intelligent question. And then Krishna replied. The personality of Godhead said, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot all subdue of the enemy. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So Krishna explained to Arjuna, because Arjuna was perplexed, how can you have taught Vivasvan, the sun god, The sun is billion years old. You're not 100 years old. So how is it? And then Krishna is talking about the reincarnation process with the difference that Krishna can remember all his births. Let's try to understand this. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Whenever and wherever there is a decline, now nowadays I would ask Krishna, please, where are you? Oh, please, there is a rise of irreligion nowadays. So to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. So Krishna is saying why he comes to save the pious, the good fellows, you know, the people who take care of the environment, who love their neighbors as Jesus figure out, yes, and to annihilate the other ones and reestablish the principles of religion. Then he comes millennium after millennium. Jaya Shri Chaitanya. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjun. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past become purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attain transcendental love for me. So I believe that's the salvation, love. And how do you work this love out? We need to be free from attachment. And then love only then can become unconditioned. Free from fear, free from anger. Think about God, think about Krishna. Take refuge, please help me, save me. Many people become purified by this knowledge, transcendental knowledge, chapter 4. And then they get to this connection with love God. This is the first commandment. Jesus mentioned it. Love your God with all your heart, all your thought, all your might. That's it. This is what can free us. That's what Krishna is referring to. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. Arjun. This reminds me, I don't know, Amoga, if you have met Kaunteya Das. Kaunteya Das was the Vaishnava that introduced me to Krishna, introduced me to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he told me one day a very interesting story. If there is a father, and I am a father of three, like my father too is a father of three. But imagine this circumstance. If you ask, oh, do you love Do you have a favorite child? What father would say, yes, yes, I prefer, no, we love our children. But Kauteya told me that. Imagine you have three children. When the father works hard and gets back home, so imagine the situation. The first child is meditating. The father passes, and his child, doesn't even see him or talk. Continues there in meditation. The second child sees the father, but when he sees the father, he goes to his room, shuts the door, and say, "Oh, I don't want to talk to my dad." And then the third child, when the father arrives, the child runs and jumps and hugs and kisses. Hi, Dad, how are you? Oh, I missed you so much. So naturally, I reward them accordingly. It doesn't mean that the father is going to stop loving the first or the second, or loves more the third, but in terms of affection. And that's what I'm talking about here, affection. How can we develop an affection towards God, the Father, Mother? This is something I usually think about because of this verse there, Really, that is on my mind a lot. I reward them accordingly. It's not that Krishna, or God, Jesus, has a favoritism, but it's about our attitude towards the Supreme. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know that I am yet the non doer, being unchangeable. Later, we'll talk about these human society divisions. It's something very particular from the Vedic culture. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty, following in their footsteps. Whoa. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. You see, he's a worker, understands and practice. Because some people are like, oh, I'm not going to perform work. I'm not going to work because if I work for the system. You know, no, I don't work for the system. I renounce that. Uh-huh. Yes. But we have to eat, don't we? We have to dress. We have bills to pay. We say the electric bill getting higher and higher. So work, but work with your intelligence, work with full knowledge. Then the bad karma, the reactions of work are not a problem, if working full knowledge, abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Such a man of understanding acts with the mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus, working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who's free from duality and does not envy, who's steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. The work of a man who's unattached to the modes of material nature and who's fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. A person who's fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. You attain the spiritual kingdom now, not just when you die. Now, because this consciousness at the end is the spiritual kingdom. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifice to them, and some of them offer sacrifice in the fire of the supreme Brahman. Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control. And others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the sense in the fire of the sense. Others, who are interested in achieving self realization through control of the mind and senses, offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the control mind. Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. Still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance, practice by offering the movement of the outgoing breath into the incoming, and the incoming breath into the outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others, curtailing the eating process, offer the outgoing breath into itself as a sacrifice. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance toward the supreme eternal atmosphere. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? Krishna. Best of the Kuru dynasty, Arjun. What I like here is if I can't be happy now, uh, imagine next life, it's impossible. So he's saying, well, we gotta live happy now. Now, in this life, not on next life, maybe next life, but when next life comes, the next is this life. No. And the key word there is sacrifice. Cannot escape that. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you become liberated. Work with consciousness, with knowledge, is the liberation. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Prita, all sacrifice of work culminates in transcendental knowledge. Remember when Jesus met a young man, and the young man told Jesus, "Hey, Lord, hey, my friend, I'm such a good guy. I follow all the rules, all the sacrifices, everything correct. uh, what can I do for his self-realization? And then Jesus said, whoa, give away all your possessions and come with me. And the guy did not, you know. That would be the sacrifice of material possession. Better than sacrifice the material possession is sacrifice, perform any sacrifice in knowledge, and especially the transcendental one. Because uh, that sacrifice of work culminates, just like Portuguese, in that transcendental knowledge. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. I would just hear question, oh, how can you identify a real spiritual master from a fake spiritual master? Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you'll never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge, you'll see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. By this knowledge, what I understand here, we become aware of the oneness of life. Everything, is part of the Supreme. Everything is part of God, of Krishna, of that consciousness. And then we act accordingly, yes? That's next chapter, by the way. First of all, whoa, knowledge. And then let's get to work again. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you'll be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Do you know the word hope? This is from the Bhagavad Gita. I believe it's one of the most hopeful of all shlokas. Even if you're considered to be the most sinful of all sinners. So if you think about the terrible politicians we have, even this person can be situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge and cross the ocean of miseries. Everybody can, no matter what. And I believe that's everybody's destiny. How much we need to suffer? That's other question. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Wow. The world is all yours, Krishna. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Wow, nothing so sublime as transcendental knowledge. Yes. Enjoy knowledge in due course of time, like fruits. Now I have a beautiful lemon tree on my yard. Now the lemon is finishing. I cannot say, come on, lemon, give me, force the lemon to produce more. No, I need to wait now. A new flower, a new fruit, a new season, a new lemon. In due course of time, I'll have lemon if I look after it. A faithful man who's dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Actually, I think that's what we're looking for, aren't we? Peace. At least, at least we might not be able to be happy all the time. And many people think, oh, the goal of life is being happy. I would say that the goal is at least to to be at peace, whatever happens. Yes. Quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Quickly. It's not after a long time. No, it's not that. If you are sincere, if you, of course, work hard as soon as possible, quickly we can get to that platform. That's how I see that. These are the words Krishna is saying. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down, for the doubting soul. There is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work or conqueror of riches. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga or bharat, stand and fight. Arjuna was confused. He was really confused. Which is better, Krishna? And then Krishna is saying, oh, Arjuna, the doubts you have, these questions, I don't know. This is a doubt. And where does it come from? From ignorance, yes. And how can you finish it? Knowledge. Knowledge. Yes. Arm with yoga, stand and fight. And then we are about to finish chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have a short summary. Transcendental knowledge, the spiritual knowledge of the soul, of God, and of their relationship is both purifying and liberating. Such knowledge is the fruit of selfless devotional action, karma yoga. The Lord explains the remote history of the Gita the purpose and significance of his periodic descents to the material world, and the necessity of approaching a guru, a realized teacher. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. That's the end of chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah.